Well, one of these situations you really hate to talk about at all, especially during the season when we could be talking about teams winning or losing or players or whatever else. But we got to talk about the Mel Tucker situation at Michigan State. And I got to start this video the same way I start any of them when I talk about anything dealing with this type of subject matter, I guess. Um, I think any type of sexual assault or sexual harassment is horrific. And I believe that if someone alleges that type of behavior, that they should be believed believed to the point where it should be taken seriously and investigated. I obviously don't believe that just because someone says something makes it true, and therefore Mel Tucker should be thrown underneath a jail or any of that. That's not what I'm saying. I just mean it should be taken seriously, obviously. Uh, but this story is just a little strange. There's a lot of coincidences here. I don't know. Let's just. I, so, Michigan State hires this person to basically meet with the team about about sexual assault and sexual harassment. She is a former victim of sexual assault. In fact, she was gang raped by 4 football players years ago, and she's become sort of a public face and advocate for abuse victims, and she basically goes around and talks to different groups, companies, whatever the case, about sexual assault and sexual harassment. And that was her role with Michigan State. And she came forward last December, so 9 months ago now. She came forward and filed a Title IX complaint with Michigan State against Mel Tucker. 9 months ago. We're just finding out about this now, by the way, which is part of the problem here. But anyway, they interview her, they interview Mel Tucker, they perform an investigation. An investigative report was released in July. A meeting was scheduled for October 5th, I believe, to discuss that investigative report. But over the weekend, the news of all of this going on leaks to the media. So then the school comes out and decides to hold a press conference and suspend Mel Tucker without pay. So what has changed between December, when this was alleged, the interview with Mel Tucker, the interview with the alleged victim, the investigative report being released in July, and now? What has changed? Only the fact that it's been made public. That's it. And now Michigan State comes out and suspends him. If Michigan State thinks he should be suspended or fired or whatever, pending this investigation or the release of this report in October, then that should have been done in December when this was alleged, or when the female was interviewed, or when Mel Tucker was interviewed and admitted to it, or when the investigative report was released in July. They didn't suspend him when any of that happened. They only suspended him once the news of the investigation became public. That's not a good look for Michigan State. Now let's get to the incident itself, and I'm just gonna say what happened. And again, what happened is not an accusation. Mel Tucker admits to this happening. He denies that it was any type of harassment. So Mel Tucker was out of town, I believe he was in Florida, and he had a phone call with this alleged victim. During the phone call, Mel Tucker talked sexually, phone sex basically, and masturbated on the phone with this lady. The lady claims she didn't want that to happen, that it wasn't a consensual phone sex call, and that she was outraged that Mel Tucker called her and masturbated and described it while she was on the phone with him. Now, Mel Tucker is married, not to this lady, but he's married. So, in terms of is what he did right or wrong, well, it's wrong. Like, he's married, he shouldn't be doing that. Is it a crime? Well, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not the police. Should he have done it? Probably not. But like my first question is, and again, I I only know what's been reported, right? And what's been reported we know is true because both parties acknowledge what happened. The only argument is whether or not the female was okay with Mel Tucker masturbating while on the phone with her. That's the only debatable point. Um, my immediate question is, couldn't you just hang up? I'm not on here to defend Mel Tucker. If and I'll get look, I think he's going to get fired, and I think he should get fired. Okay, I think he should get fired. So this isn't. I'm not. This isn't a defend Mel Tucker thing. I'm legitimately asking. I don't understand. Okay, I'm not saying that there may be something that I'm not getting here. There could be something that I'm missing. Okay, I'm having a hard time though understanding why, if this female was on the phone with anybody, Mel Tucker or anybody else, and that other person starts engaging in sexual talk, and then pulls his wang out, starts beating off. I'm having a hard time understanding why it is the person on the other end of the line who now claims that she was being that's harassment couldn't just hang up the phone. And again, that's not to belittle her claim or whatever, because I'm just admitting I don't understand it. But why couldn't you just hang up the phone? The car warranty people, they call and harass me nonstop. You know what I do? I hang up the phone. I don't stay on the phone with the car warranty people for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes and let them continue to harass me. As soon as I realize it's the car warranty people, I immediately hang up. I don't know. This isn't a situation. You're not being cornered. This isn't like a workplace situation where maybe a boss calls his secretary or coworker into an office, closes the door, locks it, corners her, slaps her on the ass, grabs her titty, makes an inappropriate comment, and she feels like she can't get out of the office because she's physically trapped in a room. That's none of this. She's thousands of miles away, states away, on the phone. It feels to me like if she felt harassed, she easily could have hung up the phone. It's what it feels like to me. Again, maybe there's something I'm not getting or not understanding with that. Now, on to Mel Tucker, Michigan State, because look, we can't ignore it. There's a football aspect to this story. I'm in no way conflating football or sexual harassment or trying to say that the football part of this is bigger than sexual harassment. That's not what I'm doing. But we just can't ignore the fact that, Mel Tucker's the head coach of a major college football program. This is a college football channel. If you go to any sports website or news show, they're talking like at some level, this is a football story, okay? I'm not placing the football importance above the importance of sexual harassment. That's not what I'm doing, which is why I talked about the sexual harassment stuff first, because somebody's going to say, this guy cares about, somebody got harassed and all this guy cares about football. No. But here's the thing, though, with Mel Tucker. Whether what he did is criminal or not, and that's not for me to say. Like I said, I'm having a hard time understanding why the lady couldn't just hang up and go about her business. But that aside for a second, I don't think, whether what he did is criminal or not, his days at Michigan State are over. And they're not going to have to pay the buyout. Mel Tucker's got one of the worst contracts in all of college football. Worst to the university, I mean. For Mel Tucker, it's a golden goose. I've always liked Mel Tucker as a coach. I thought he was good at Bama. He was good as defensive coordinator at Georgia under Kirby, and then he became a head coach. Now he's been terrible. I mean, he's just been terrible as a head coach. He was no good at Colorado, no good now at or Colorado State, whichever one it was. Colorado, I don't even remember. Colorado State. And then I couldn't believe he got the Michigan State job to start with. I know he went there, but I just didn't feel like he had deserved that job at that point in his career based on what he had accomplished, which was really not much. And then he had one good year where he struck gold in the portal with Kenneth Walker, a running back, and they won 10 games or whatever it was. But literally every other year of his coaching career has been terrible. But Michigan State is basically financially strapped to him because they gave him just the dumbest. And again, that's Michigan State's fault. That's not Mel Tucker's fault. Michigan State completely lost their mind because he had the one good year and they gave him a $9.5 million a year contract for Mel Tucker. It made no sense. 10 years, $9.5 million, a $95 million contract. Now pretty much everybody can see like he's not worth that. But Michigan State can't fire him or couldn't fire him because the buyout you're talking about, it starts out at 95, goes down $9.5 million a year. He's still at $70-80 million buyout. So they're kind of stuck with him as a head coach. Unless you fire him for cause, right? Unless you fire him for cause. Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee. Tennessee doesn't have to pay him a buyout. Why? He was fired for cause. Now, I think being a terrible coach should be for cause, but that's not the way the contracts are written. You know, you go out there, you go 1-11 5 years in a row, and a team fires you. They have to pay you your buyout. I don't agree with that. To me, that's the best cause to fire somebody. Cause they ain't no good. But if you fire somebody because they're just not any good, you do have to pay their buyout. There has to be something outside of the results on the field, basically, when you fire a coach in order to avoid paying the buyout. So Jeremy Pruitt got caught cheating and buying players and recruiting violations and all that. And so Tennessee was able to fire him with cause, thus avoid paying his buyout. Michigan State, should they fire Mel Tucker, which I'm convinced that they are, any minute probably, but yeah, I'm convinced they are, they're going to say, we're firing him. It's not football related. We're firing for cause. This is an embarrassment to the university. There's a moral turpitude clause in Mel Tucker's contract, like there is in most head coaches' contract, that basically states you have to be a good guy. You can't do anything that would embarrass the football program, the athletic department, or the university. Stuff like that. There's clauses like that in every. Contract. Bobby Petrino, the embarrassing situation that happened with him at Arkansas, that becomes a reason to fire a coach for cause when stuff like that happens. So again, because I've seen a lot of varying opinions on this on the internet in the last couple of days. You might be one of these people who are going, what crime did he commit? Or, how can we believe this lady or whatever? You don't have to think he committed a crime. He doesn't even have to have committed a crime. And you can believe the lady or not believe the lady. But all you have to do is believe Mel Tucker. Mel Tucker admits to this phone call happening. Again, Mel Tucker admits to calling this lady, engaging in sexual conversation with her, and then masturbating while on the phone with her. While the lady was employed by Michigan State to speak to the athletic department about the dangers of sexual harassment. So, every company on earth has policies against dating employees within the company, fraternization it's called. And, this is just a terrible, embarrassing looking situation for Michigan State. I do believe if they decide to fire Mel Tucker, they will fire him for cause. Whether or not Mel Tucker decides to sue Michigan State to try to get his buyout remains to be seen, but I don't think he'll win in the end because of the moral turpitude clause that's built into the contract. And again, I'm not here to judge Mel Tucker, right, wrong, people cheat, don't cheat. That's, to each their own, I guess. But it seems pretty cut and dry to me that Mel Tucker will be fired for cause. Michigan State won't have to pay that buyout. And in the long run, this is a positive for Michigan State's athletic department financially. Because having to pay Mel Tucker $9.5 million a year for the next 8 years or whatever it is not a sound investment. It's not a sound investment in their football policy. So, I don't know. That's what I think's going to happen. Again, an embarrassing situation both for Mel Tucker and the university. I'm not a lawyer. I don't obviously know all of the details. None of us do, other than what's been released. But I think all you have to do is take the information that's been released and acknowledged by Mel Tucker himself to see where this is most likely headed, which is that Mel Tucker's most likely going to be fired. They're going to fire him. They're going to claim it's for cause, not pay the buyout, and whether or not there's a lawsuit that comes down the road after that or not, I don't know. But anyway, that's the latest on it, and that's my thoughts. Have a good morning.